继续打更多的训练，找到更合适的一种体系吧。
还是出现了很多失误，然后互动上面问题也很大，所以我们把这个问题改一下，
想办法为了争取更好的表现。
这波先把他杀掉，小心杀的伤害。
这波可以直接表到2个人，右直左一。
希望通过我们的努力 ，LPL 赛区能以第1名出现。
LMS 赛区现在分数落后，后面还是有机会可以打回来的。
항상 스포츠가 이길 수도 있고 당연히 패배도 있는 거니까 뭐 당연히 졌으니까 이겼으면 더 좋을 것 같긴 하네요. 네.
LCK 목표는 당연히 일단 우승입니다.
接下来的比赛我们会努力打得更好。
第一次参加洲际赛的话，比较关注春季赛排名跟我们一样的队伍。
이제 우승은 저는 개인적으로 이제 LCK니까 LCK가 우승했으면 좋겠어요. 对我们来说，战斗刚刚开始。
In the Far East, 3 champions wander across the rift. One's a spirit who had it all, separated from his roots to find new paths. One's a falcon that soars above the sky, seeking vengeance to rule the world again. Then there is the hunter, a fearless man, gods and monsters being his prey. The champions are ready. We shall bring on the heat.
Warning, the following broadcast contains biased analysis, godlike rivalries, and the dissing of other regions. It is not suitable for audiences below gold ELO. You have been warned.
Oh, hi, boys. I hope your Hot Pockets are ready because I'm back, baby.
Rift Rivals has returned. Welcome back, everyone. Day 2 is upon us, and as you can tell, the arena here in Dalian is starting to fill up as we get ready for today's games. My name is Dom. Joining me here, we've got Parento Raz Mohammed and Indiana FLICKR in black. How we doing?
I'm doing well. You can hear the crowd's doing well too. Just coming out of day 1, I'm just ready for more. Just more games, and it seems like just looking at the schedule, spoiler alert, a lot of good ones today.
Oh yeah, we've got a lot of great games lined up for you today. Before we get to that though, let's take a look at the standings and recap what happened yesterday because there were some pretty interesting developments. I think the most exciting thing, LCK coming out to an early lead, 3-1 after day 1.
Absolute shocker, but a lot of that lead was built on the back of KT Rollster, and I'm all aboard the KT roller coaster right now, but it's the LPL sitting in second at 2-2, followed up by the LMS, who have frankly been a bit uninspiring.
Uninspiring, true, but that one win was the Flash Rolls starting the day, taking the victory up against RNG, the MSI champions. So just at the very least, from the top of the top, Flash Rolls doing incredibly well.
And I do have some words for RNG, but we'll see how they perform later on today. That said, it was EDG and Invictus Gaming that still held strong for the LPL, while Rogue Warriors fell down in a very exciting matchup across from that KT.
And of course, LMS bringing up the rear as of now. Flash Wolves putting in some hard work at 1-0, but will they be enough to carry the
I'm going to
LMS?
go a little bit farther than hard work. Flash Wolves are hard carrying, trying to drag this region into international relevance, and the rest of the LMS just needs to step up at this point. We know that they have the mechanics, but do they have the experience?
Yeah, and it's just a team tournament. That's why when it comes towards the LCK as a whole, doing very well. SKT, we haven't mentioned them because talk about the KT roller coaster. SKT had a phenomenal performance, taking that one victory. The Galio composition worked handily for them.
It absolutely did. Yeah, just setting it up like that. That said, though, we've still got some more exciting games coming at you today. Let's go ahead and bring up our schedule. And I want to know which ones you two are looking forward to because there's just so much to dissect with these matches.
I just got back from MSI, and I'm looking at the MSI rematches today. We've got KZ versus Flash Wolves 3-3 respectively, and then RNG versus KZ, a rematch of the MSI finals. You get it all today.
Damn, you took 2 sets.
I got 2.
He gave you 1. All right, I'll take 1. IG versus SKT.
Easy.
Rematch of Rookie versus FLICKR. I say rematch, only happened once, so the fact that the audience gets a chance to watch this one is phenomenal.
Twice, honey, also in 2015 All-Stars.
Already bringing out the flame. Let's come. We're all on the same desk today. We're all friends, we're all teammates for now. But soon, we're going to start getting to some hot banter. First, though, we've actually got to talk about the stakes, what this day means. Right now, LCK in the lead with 3 wins, LPL at 2. If the LMS loses 2 games and LCK wins 1, LMS is locked in 3rd.
That's why the second match is so important, because it's LMS versus LCK. Flash Wolves could be the decider if LMS immediately enter into semifinals in the 3rd place position tomorrow.
And remember, we haven't seen GRX just yet. They play 2 games today, so we don't know what form they're going to be here. We know what form they were in the LMS. They need to step it up if they want to carry it, because it can't just be a Flash Rolls dominated tournament. It's a team tournament.
It is.
If they're the only ones coming up with the victories, then it's almost certain that LMS will come in at third place.
And speaking of form, we actually got to see some excellent forms from some of the mid laners yesterday. Raz, you were super excited about Maple. We just saw some really cool stuff. Why don't you break down some of the cool things we saw?
His Vladimir performance is all you need to see. That one game that we were talking about when they went up against RNG to start, it was the fact that he had so much access to the back line. His Vladimir at the very beginning, easy. Got into the late portions of the game, Uzi couldn't get him off him.
And the thing is Maple had a horrific 2017, but 2018 has proven that it wasn't just about Karsa for the Flash Wolves success. Maple came in hot at MSI, absolutely dominated the competition, and comes in hot again at Rift Rivals. Like you were saying, his Vladimir performance, it was make or break for that RNG set.
And in addition to that, we've also seen some excellent performances from some members of the LPL. Scout in the mid lane on his Zoe has been putting up some huge work against Kuro.
Where has this Scout been all of my life? It feels like anytime we go to the international event, it's chokers, it's defeat, it's betrayal for this EDG squad. But Scout stepped up huge, solo killing Kuro, I believe at 5 minutes into the game, and then immediately running at bottom and just letting EDG shine.
The solo kills have been a constant for the man so far in the summer split. 5 solo kills domestically, comes into this one and has 2 more to his name, so you just can't stop Scout in the early game.
But the guy that I really want to focus on, because we've talked about Scout, we've talked about Maple, is I really want to put a magnifying glass on UCal. This guy is going to be a god. It's just a question about when he extends to that godhood. It's so rare that you see, we're still looking at Scout here, as when you see a player who has so much raw talent and mechanical ability, then also match that with brain and map read. It just, his communication, his synergy is beautiful.
And this is his Galio performance against Rogue Warriors, going up against Joinbee's Talon, the first Talon of Rift Rivals that we get to see. We've had some pretty exciting picks.
And the thing about him, you mentioned the Galio pick. This was the most phenomenal part of the matchup. 3-man taunt, really well played. The team followed up, and I want to talk about his impact towards the team. He comes into the lineup, solo queue kid, of course he's been some time on the stage, but to adapt so quickly with KT, a team full of veterans, and be able to have a communication go straight through the mid lane 2 games in a row, seems like the slow play, methodical play coming through him. Very well done for a person who's been on stage not too long.
And that's the beat that I have to reiterate every single time. This isn't just a kid with flashy mechanics. We've got tons of that over in the LPL, tons of that across Asia. This is a kid who is fitting perfectly with a super team and may actually unlock them on an international stage.
So that's an important question that we have to ask. KT Rolster, the roller coaster, could it be at a peak? Are we still going up or are we going down?
I'm all aboard.
Yeah, you know what? It's always every single time we want to do this, it's like, we always have our hearts broken, but at least for the 2 games that we've seen.
Because we're LPL casters, of course our hearts get broken.
We know that too well. But
we're used to that.
The 2 games that we've seen already from KT is just slower play, disciplined play. I want to see more of that from KT in the next stage of the tournament, because if that's the case, it feels like LCK has got a real strong one in the pocket.
For me, it's the diversity actually in the competitions. When you look at KT's draft specifically for the 2 teams, very different. Yes, they used a gold funneling strat and then kind of a side lane comp, but it's a read on their opponents. It's very clear that they prepped hard for this tournament and they executed on it brilliantly. We know that KT, again, have the mechanics. They're a super team. They can come in and dominate anyone in pound-for-pound talent, but now it's the brain behind the brawn, and that's why I'm excited about this KT roster.
And speaking of another super team, Royal never give up. Yesterday, they dropped the first game of the tournament to Flash Wolves and are now tied 2-2 in that head-to-head. We talked about Flash Wolves trying to hard carry. Could they be doing it?
Oh, look, Flash Wolves are looking real damn good, and they got KZ later on today. I don't like the idea of hard carrying because it is a team tournament.
Yes.
GRX has to come in. They really do, because if Flash Wolves come in, and I expect them to be playing just as well as we saw yesterday, but it's not enough. They need teamwork along the LMS.
If you haven't been paying attention to the LMS though, Raz, how the hell are GRX actually going to carry? This was a team that got swept in the finals when they actually faced Flash Wolves, and that's when they were good. If you actually look at what GRX are doing right now, they haven't won a single series, and they've only taken 2 maps. This is a very different LMS landscape than we saw in spring to summer.
And the thing with the GRX specifically, things have changed, the meta's changed to make it so they can't rely on their spring split MVP of PK to split push. Ain't gonna happen. You can't rely on protecting a hyper carry, AD carry, and Stitch, because Stitch performed phenomenally last spring, but remember, you now got mages and bruisers down there. So now a magnifying glass gets put on their mid lane jungle synergy, which has been the weakest for them, and it needs to get better. They need to adapt.
And while I'm sure we would love to have a conversation about the meta and all the crazy champions, the Aatroxes, the Sejuanis, the Talons, right now it looks like we're going to start to move into our next matchup. Edward Gaming versus GRX. And again, we saw Edward Gaming yesterday. Most fans are familiar with this team. They've been international so many times. You can see them on your screen right now. I do want to continue the conversation about their opponent GRX, because this might not be something that international fans are familiar with.
It's about understanding where their win conditions are, and Raz already talked about it. You know, this was a team that liked to play a split push. They like to protect their hyper carry, but they still have their hard carry, MVP, PK into the top lane. And if we're talking about this idea of meta, of win conditions for GRX, we saw the brand new Aatrox yesterday. You know, the Shy was flexing on that champion. I think that's something that certainly fits in PK's wheelhouse that he can go ahead and maybe grab or force EDG to ban it, which may unlock them elsewhere on the map.
EDG would have to ban it at this point. Or, if they're on blue side, make it so Ray could pick it up and play towards him. That has to be a primary strength for them.
And see, and that's the other point that I wanted to capitalize on then, is that Edward Gaming are not the type of team to grab that sort of pick for Ray. I have no doubt that he can play it. We know this guy, he's the Jarvan top guy, but Edward Gaming have been like, no, you fit into this mold for us.
And this is the roster we're seeing out of EDG. Ray, Haro in the jungle, Scout in the mid lane, iBoy, AD, and Mako in the bottom lane, with Clearlove, their sub, and Coach Nofe.
And then on the other side, it's GRX. It's going to be PK, Bebe, Wuji, Stitch, and Koala.
And now this is when we shift our focus towards EDG just a little bit, because you saw Haro on your screen. And we do have to have a closer look at him, because people are wondering, where's Clearlove? Is Clearlove going to play? I think that it makes a lot more sense recently to put Haro in, because they need diversity in their pool. Right now, the meta is resounding around, you have to play the Talias, the mage picks, I would say Lisa, but
something
mostly
other than
Graves.
4 champions.
Exactly. Nocturne is not going to be guaranteed,
Hey,
and that's been a thing that Clearlove is playing a lot.
Yeah. Sejuani's pretty popular right now. I'm just saying. It's a thing that could happen.
And the issue is that Clearlove also really hasn't been up to form. We saw him in RNG versus Edward Gaming in the finals. It was a complete collapse. If Edward Gaming wanted to point the finger anywhere, you'd have to start in that jungle performance. So I actually agree with EDG, focusing on Haro and building up their new superstars.
Yeah, and recency has done well for him. Played well yesterday, and then in their last day of the LPL before coming to Rift Rivals, 2-0 versus Rogue Warriors based off of his picks, off the Talia. So I think Haro's coming into this one hot.
There's a lot of flexibility in terms of that. Of course, on your screen, you just saw Scout in the mid lane with a masterclass on how to play Zoe in that previous game. He's taken on Wuji, and that might be a little bit of a tough matchup for GRX.
Why do we keep fumbling around this language? That is going to be one hell of a matchup. An issue right now with GRX is that their mid-jungle synergy just isn't there. As the meta has shifted out of their comfort zone, they need to rely more so on that pivot point, and it's never been about mid-jungle synergy. It's been about top jungle synergy for them. So you can definitely exploit them if they don't get a favorable matchup here.
Especially versus EDG. Scout's on fire. He's going to be able to, if he doesn't get the Zoe pick, I think people are focusing on that way too much. And his Swain is incredible as well. There's so much that he can go towards. And so if you are GRX, 2v2 is massively important. And if you can free up the bottom lane, then the wards have to go towards mid, because he's going to be able to take his lead, take his advantage, and run away towards the bottom lane.
Frankly, if you want to stick with the 1-4 style that they are so well known for, of course, Coach Toys behind them, one of the guys who, cemented that style on the international stage, I think you take a defensive 4-man unit and you just pile everything that you've got into that top lane.
So I already know I've got the 2 LPL casters and the LPL host on the desk. I know which of the teams you're going to vote for. I want to know why. Specifically, what's the upset going to be if GRX are going to win, and what's EDG going to do if we're expecting them to take this?
I mean, ultimately, it's team cohesion. Right now, GRX is not doing very well in their own split, and it comes off the fact that they need to play towards top lane. So how is GRX going to win? Has to be through PK. Bebe and PK top lane, that's going to be their style. That's what's comfortable to them. They have to force it. Aatrox has to be a pickup. If it's not Aatrox, I want to be able to see something different like a Kennen. Ultimately, that's what I want to see. Play to what made them successful in the spring split. ultimately, EDG, I think, is going to win.
And again, I think that Edward Gaming are going to win. I think that this match could be determined, though, after the champion select, if you see what the clear-cut plan is, because Edward Gaming do have a tendency that they just fumble drafts sometimes. It happens all the time in the LPL. It happens all the time for Edward Gaming. So I hope that we see the same performance that we saw from them yesterday, but don't count on that. That's like a once-in-a-lifetime EDG glimpse.
It could very well be an opportunity for GRX. That said, it's time for our casters to get us into Game 1 of Rift Rivals Day 2.
GRX 的话，就是我们春季赛的时候，其实和他们打过训练赛，所以说就感觉就是他们的打野是比较喜欢进攻的嘛，然后他们也是一个喜欢打中野的队伍，所以说我觉得如果我们遇到他们的话，中野不出什么就是能赢的话，我觉得肯定就会很简单。
Thank you, Dom, and it's been a rocky roller coaster of ruthless rivalries all around the world as Rift Rivals kickstarted this week, and it's only day 2 of the LCK, LMS, and LPL Rift Rivals. I'm Matthew Stewart, joining me is Clement. We're getting into the first match of today. It's going to be EDG taking on GRX.
Oh, and I can't believe it. I talked to GRX coach before the match. He was not subtle about it at all. The way they're going to defeat EDG is through that top lane in PK. He was the MVP in spring. They want him to get that last pick to counter EDG.
But so far, already 2 bans being thrown towards the top lane. We'll obviously go into champion select for game number 1. Jax, as well as Aatrox, being banned out right away by EDG. Sejuani follows through, targeting Bebe. We just heard from Clearlove.
Definitely.
That's their jungler for the side of GRX, a team that they've scrimmed against during the spring split.
Now these
teams
teams
very aggressive
are
in the jungle.
very, very close. Bebe used to play on EDE and was a part of RNG as well before ending up on the GRX roster, so they know what each other likes to do. EDG, of course, taking away the strong top side from GRX, and GRX focusing down the mid laners from Scout. They don't want to give him something that he can perform on in a blind pick.
No, they don't. So they want to make sure that those champions are taken away. For the side of GRX, they take away Nocturne, Zoe, as well as Talia, targeting Scout, as you mentioned. Immediately, Gragas picked up by EDG. This should be Mako's champion, but already at Rift Rivals here, we've seen it played in the top lane as well.
I also think it could be a jungler as well. This blue side has always been about concealing your picks. This is what the LCK does better than any other region, so they're throwing it out there. We've seen it on Mako only, but I would not be surprised to see it for some early jungle ganking power on Haro.
No, I would not be surprised either. We'll have to see if EDG throws it into the jungle, but it should be Mako's support. That's what we've seen already in the LPL for the side of GRX. Picking up Swain as well as Morgana. Their first 2 picks. EDG are not going to have Mako playing that champion, Clement. You are right. Could be in the jungle, could be heading to the top lane because Soraka is their second pick.
Soraka, of course, a very strong counter pick into the Morgana, able to push that lane and go through her Black Shield as well. The interesting thing about this draft so far is the Swain. Swain has been the most pick ban champion in the Rift Rival tournament so far. We see 100% of him on the Rift, and he could go into top, mid, and also the ADC position, which is what GRX has done in the previous
So
games.
we could see Stitch pick up Swain in the bottom lane. That's something that EDG have not been doing throughout the LPL. iBoy's been put on AD carries. Haven't seen an AD carry picked up by EDG just yet. Instead, they lock in Irelia. That should be Scout's mid lane pick of choice. GRX with their final pick before going into the second ban phase. Seems like Camille should be their jungler.
I definitely like the Camille idea right here. You don't want to let EDG get the combination of Aurelia and Camille. Those two will run down the mid lane and will also ruin any chance of you clearing your own jungle. So taking away that combination definitely shows a degree of understanding of what EDG has been doing.
And it seems to be that EDG might not even want to in the first place if Haro does go for the Gragas in the jungle. But we'll have to see how those champions rotate around later on, because we're still yet to determine where they can be placed with the current meta, with Summer Split starting. Champions are all over the map. GRX immediately are going to ban out a couple of iBoys champions. First, starting with Ash, we could probably see a Lucian ban coming through as well.
Yep, definitely. You don't know what the other position is going to be for EDG, so I think it's a safe bet to take away the marksmen so far. Ash is a big one, Kaisa, of course, and Lucian, just like you mentioned, are the 3 most played for iBoy.
There's so many left up and available. You could pick at least one of them. However, GRX do have the first pick after this ban phase. They could send Stitch onto an AD carry and throw Swain into the mid lane, or put Swain on the top lane Spring Split LMS MVP of PK.
Everyone thinks the MVP should be on Flash Wolves, but I have to tell you guys, it was PK. The coaches and the players voted on him, and he's been a very good split pusher. He has a legendary coach behind him in Toys, who also played on the Taipei Assassins, of course, a 4-1 split pushing team themselves. So they're very comfortable with that type of a play style here.
Remember, Toys is currently the head coach for GRX, but they've been using Wei as their new ban pick coach. He's joined the roster since Toys started as the head coach, but has not been the ban pick coach for the entirety of Spring Split. There he is on your screen right there. Instead, only jumping in during summer, which unfortunately for GRX hasn't looked good so far. They're 0-3 in the LMS, and he's going to be doing the ban picks for GRX as well at Rift Rivals, with a Renekton being locked in immediately for GRX. The bans come out from EDG. We're targeting the top lane slightly, with Darius being taken away. Koala's Alistar gets banned out as well, with Ezreal being taken away by GRX.
This is the test to see EDG's champion pool right here. Oh, but they're going for Mordekaiser. Now, we've never seen a Mordekaiser actually being played in the LPL. People have shied away from it.
In the bottom lane.
In the bottom lane, correct.
Because we saw it on the first day of the LPL. We saw one of our e-commerce teams, I believe it was Jindong, pull it out against Victus Gaming in the mid lane doing for a gold funnel Shyvana composition. Didn't work out, didn't see it too much since. Hasn't been played in the bottom lane in the LPL, but they do lock in Poppy as their pick of choice. That should be Ray's top lane champion. Now we have to see what Ibo is going to be playing.
They do have a good setup for the Kai'Sa. Soraka can't get her through lane. Pretty healthy. Even against a kill lane like the Swain and Morgana, they should be fine.
And that's what gets locked in?
But it does seem like GRX is going for something cheesy. A double bruiser composition in the bot lane, perhaps.
I don't know if we can even call this cheese anymore, Clement. It's pretty much standard meta picks coming out from GRX as the current patch is crazy as it is. But Swain locked in with Morgana, Camille, and Renekton looking at their final pick. If it is a Singed, you'd expect that to be BK's top lane champion. Locked in. Where is this Renekton going? Where is Swain going?
So the Renekton's actually a very good counter into the Aurelia. Aurelia does not do well into bruiser matchups. As a Renekton, you can stand in the Vanguard's edge to deal all of your damage. So this is the reason they're actually bringing on Uji. We haven't seen him play mid so far this split, but he's always been known for kind of unique picks, or Orianna one trick in the past. EDG, however, doing some swapping of themselves.
Yeah, giving Ray Aurelia for the moment with Scout picking up Poppy in the mid lane. This is something we've seen before on both champions. This split already, Poppy's been playing in the mid lane around the world, but not too much. They do swap back, however. Just messing with people for that 20-second mark. It is Ray picking up Poppy in the top lane, going up against the Singed. Aurelia in the mid lane into that Renekton matchup. Picked up by GRX, a little bit unorthodox, but exciting nonetheless, coming out from the LMS team.
This is the answer that GRX has for patch 8.13. They're not going back to the crit ADCs, which Stitch was known on, but they're going to follow with the flow, going for the full bruiser composition. Very, very powerful in terms of the early game. It's about how much they can actually get out of EDG.
And that's where they were incredibly strong. However, it hasn't looked that good for them throughout the LMS. And their other strategy that they commonly went towards was protecting an AD carry, and unfortunately, Hyper Carry's not doing too well in the current patches, Clement.
Nope, not at all. We talk about Stitch and we think about Tristana, Caitlyn, and Jinx. So far, he hasn't had a chance to play any of these champions in the new summer split. So taking a lot of power away from GRX, not having that comfort picks for them, it really has hammered them down in terms of the standings.
0-3 at the moment, but they were the second seed coming in for the LMS, doing incredibly well during Spring Split. We've already hashed on the fact that PK was the MVP of the LMS. Not on the #1 team of Flash Wolves, not on the #1 seed, but on the #2 seed. Being run by the head coach of Toys, now their band pick coach Wei, also helping them out. They're looking to try and take it to EDG. They haven't played yet at Rift Rivals, so they have the element of surprise as well.
And here we can see the full lineup. EDG once again going for that strong mid-jungle synergy, having good gank pressure from Haro with that Gragas flex pick right here.
But that has
been the key.
But they said Bebe was an aggressive jungler himself, and he could potentially create openings for GRX. Let's get on to the Rift. Game 1 of day 2. Tons and tons of EDG fans here at the arena, the hometown in China. But a couple of LMS people have flown over to support GRX and the rest of the LMS squad as they take part in the Rift Rivals tournament. Get rid of that bloody Teemo. I'm okay with Stitch giving the thumbs up, but the Teemo's just not necessary, boy.
These teams are just having fun at this point. You know, you always do that with scrim partners, getting the crowd hyped as well.
Look at that, Stitch got his groove on as well, giving it a bit of dance.
It's so fun to see this GRX roster because it's an amalgamation of everything that has come from the LMS. You know, the MSE squad, 2 Korean players on the team as well with Candy. Of course, a bit of TPA.
Ooh, Ray. Good damage onto PK to start the match. He'll just head back to red buff and get a nice leash for Bebe in the jungle. Both junglers starting on the red side of the map. Doesn't get too much for it. Will spots out PK walking to lane. Ray, you're not meant to proxy farm at a minute 40 into the match. But I wanted to ask you, Comment, because we haven't seen GRX yet. No, they played 2 matches today, but we've already seen EDG play against the FLICKR Freaks. Hello! Can you two stop for a second? PK doesn't care right now. He's popped both of his refillable pots. He's going to try and push out this way, but it takes a lot of damage from Ray in the top lane. Tell me about this GRX squad, because we haven't seen them play yet.
Yeah, so GRX has come from a lot of different places. Bebe came from the LPL, EDG, and he's going for a level 2 cheesecake. I don't think Ray has seen this.
Ray is playing a little bit more passive now. PK does hit level 2 first, flips him back. Ray charges through and flashes, gets away from the gank.
That charge level 1 that did so much in terms of his laning phase, but we do see Scout almost chunked out.
Ignited by ulti in the mid lane, stun goes through, but flash is still available for Renekton and Irelia. Very early skirmish coming out from GRX in the top lane as well as the mid lane, doing well for them so far.
Yep, with the strong level 2 coming out for Camille, even with the hook shock nerf, she's able to pressure Gragas away from the jungle. That's the big point of weakness of Gragas in the early game. He really can't stand toe-to-toe with other strong junglers.
Now, Bebe hasn't done too many of his camps just yet, still sitting on level 2. He's deep inside EDG's side of the map. Trying to take away a blue buff at the moment. Uchi as well, Scout's still trading in the mid lane, but he looked for a top lane gank, then immediately looked for a mid lane dive. Didn't get either of them successfully. Still burnt the summoner spell from the top lane.
Yep, but of course that was a trade in the top lane so far. It doesn't look like PK's going to be able to get much out of this lane. Sure, he might become a split pusher later down in the lane, but Ray knows the playbook. These teams have played each other on the regular, so they know what they're going for in this top side, and really smart level 1 leveling of that dash on the Poppy.
Yep. Got some good trades before the lane started, but a brilliant pick coming out from PK looking to lock him down. Meanwhile, on the bottom lane, first time we actually look at this matchup, Stitch forced to flash away. Takes the trade that goes in favor of EDG, running Cleanse, Barrier in the bottom lane here, Clement. Soraka not picking up heal, it's Barrier.
Yep, she just wants to get some extra power when those ganks do come in, keep herself top off. If she's focused, Barrier is better than heal in terms of the team fighting later in the game.
Double Ignite being run by GRX as well, although they couldn't see those summoner spells during Champion Select. Helps out as well, mitigating the negative heal you would get. Checking in with Haru here, picking up Gragas in the jungle. We've already seen EDG play this before, not during Summer Split, however. Going for the Electrocute on his Gragas.
We do see Ray with the new buffed Poppy does go for the Aerie for extra trading in terms of the laning phase. You can always throw out your shield and get that Aerie proc going as well. A little bit more harass onto the Singed.
But both top laners are just trading at the moment, Clone. Both of them burnt their flash at the same time. Teleported to lane at a relatively similar timing as well. Dark Seal as well as Corrupting Potion being picked up by PK. Haven't seen too much action up there after level 1. Same as the mid lane now. GRX going for the Renekton in the mid lane. A little bit unorthodox, but not something we haven't seen before. But not something we see commonly. Irelia are very popular in the mid lane at the moment. Still going for trades. Both of them get their stun down. Haro is waiting just in case Renekton goes aggressive here.
Yep. They know that the 2v2 should not be able to win against GRX 2v2, so they are bringing an extra factor just to see if they can bait GRX to make the move.
Uji just watches as Mako walks into the lane. Soraka doesn't really gank, so heals up Irelia, and he gets rather frustrated by that. Will be farming underneath his turret for now, but does have a good CS lead for himself. 10 CS up over Scout at the moment.
That is expected in that lane so far. And in terms of the bottom lane, we do see EDG pushing up. That's pretty normal for early Swain. Swain has very poor base stats going in level 1. And the main way he actually wins that bot lane is through getting the never move and getting you under tower. That's basically how the kill lane is set up.
Has a Morgana to follow up with lots of CC as well. But we haven't seen too much from the bottom lane just yet. And it's been very quiet. Very early levels into this match, Clement. We saw trades in the mid lane, trades in the top lane. But what are we expecting moving forward? Because only 6 minutes into the match, and I see that both teams are content with farming at the moment, despite the fact they have 2 junglers that are very good at picking, both Gragas as well as Camille.
GRX in general, they want to group up. They want to use their engage from the Singed and also from the Camille to try to snowball a big 5v5. On the other hand, I think EDG more on the route of RNG in the previous day as well. They have their hyper carry in iBoy, and when it comes to the late game team fights, they're very good at spreading people out. They can do it with the hammer from Poppy and also with the Vanguard's edge from Scout, of course the explosive barrel from Gragas as well. So they have a lot of space to operate for iBoy.
We'll keep track of iBoy later on. Bebe already going for an aggressive trade against Ray. Level 6 on this Poppy, not opting to use the ultimate just yet. Bebe still tracking him down. Forces Poppy in between the turrets. PK gets some time to proxy farm as well. Minion dematerializes to deal with that cannon minion. No teleport available for Poppy. Good move coming out from GRX, focusing the Singe side of the map, giving him a small advantage in the top lane.
And this does look like how GRX is going to get this Bruiser composition rolling in the first place. If you want to fight an uneven number fight, you do need one of those split pushers. And it looks like they're going all in onto the Singe, into PK in terms of the top lane. That's what you can do when you have Camille versus Gragas. A very strong jungle matchup.
Just very different from what we normally see from GRX. It's either the hyper carry in the bottom lane or a very aggressive early game. 7 minutes in, no kills picked up by either side, but they've got a full Bruiser composition looking to use that against EDG. Haro, though, is looking for a gank in the bottom lane. Level 6 is available. Level 5 for Koala as well as Stitch. iBoy and Mako poising aggressively. They jump forward. Koala uses a good Dark Shield. iBoy jumps forward. Cast knocks it backwards, but Koala's low. Ignite is ticking. Not going to be enough. First blood picked up by iBoy.
And that was a great composition coming out from EDG right there. We've seen this do it before in the LPL, but it was Mako playing the Gragas. However, it works the same way. Explosive Barrel will get you that proc needed for Killer Instinct on Kai'Sa.
It allows EDG to pick up the first kill of the match, the 9 CS away from GRX's bottom lane as well, and the first turret is going to fall. You can see the stats coming out from iBoy as well. 5 wins, 1 loss on Kai'Sa so far.
This is the first split that iBoy has actually picked up the Kai'Sa. Usually did go for the Caitlyn and Kalista in spring, but this time around they've realized that winning lane is not as important. You can win lane through kill threat rather than just the pushing power.
Which is what we saw there. Haro makes a trip down into the bottom lane, gets a pick. Bebe was not close to the bottom side of the map yet. PK recalling at the same time, so GRX were not able to respond to that.
I really like EDG's philosophy so far in 8.12, 8.13. They're saying level 1 to 5 is not as important. It's all about the level 6 kill threat for them. They always play a jungler that has a lot of that potential. The Nocturne, the Sejuani, and now even the Gragas just followed up.
Plenty of bruises for themselves, still sticking to the hyper carry that iBoy provides later in the match. Provides that extra bit of ability power damage as well. We can take a look at the dive bottom lane again. Koala almost escaped, but persistent coming out from EDG's bot lane.
And the timing here is just so good. 2 level 5s on GRX's side, and of course, finally the explosive barrow, giving an extra tick onto Morgana so that iBoy could finish him off with the plasma.
They burned the Dark Shield first as well, so the crowd control doesn't get interrupted when Haro throws out the ultimate, which was nice to see. Has given EDG a slight advantage to kickstart this match, 2,000 gold ahead. Nicely to have just 10 minutes into the game.
Definitely. Looking at almost 2K at this point, actually over 2K. And unfortunately, Uji has been able to get nothing going so far. Renekton, a very early game champion.
Scouter actually looks for the one-on-one. Uji's just going to slice and dice away back to the turret. Escapes the gank, actually burns Scout's ultimate.
Yep. Uji, smart play there, knew that the bottom lane was coming in.
Bebe's able to interrupt Haro. Haro now in trouble. Will be Bebe that falls first. However, great heal coming out from Mako. Keeps Haro alive.
Yep, and EDG there. They keep the other members from GRX away from the fight, so they have the healing from Mako coming on, keeping Haro topped off, able to pick up another kill.
But they don't get anything from it just yet. They were posturing aggressively inside the blue side of GRX's jungle. iBoy is now rotated into the mid lane. They've swapped out. Scouts moved down to the bottom side of the map. Currently split pushing, hoping Renekton will move down there. PK as well as Ray still on the top side of the map. A CS lead available for Singed. Poppy's just farming against him for the moment.
And I think that play really demonstrated what GRX has been having troubles so far in this split. That Bebe doesn't seem to really be on point with the rest of the team. He went in by himself, but Uji had to pop the ultimate, the dominus, but still wasn't able to find an entry point into the fight. So a little bit of a discord going on GRX side, handing over the kill to EDG.
Just felt like EDG were already set up for that fight itself. GRX caught a little bit off guard, and both times the two picks EDG have found for themselves have given them slight advantages in this match. 3,000 gold ahead. They're going to be able to take a Rift Tail for themselves, but Bebe's waiting to see if he can go for a steal, decides not to. It's an easy pickup for EDG.
Yep, and a lot of this could have snowballed from the ban pick. This is the interesting thing about 8.13 with so many flex picks going around. A lot of the times, teams do misread the draft. So we saw GRX pick up the Morgana, probably thinking it was going to be a Gragas support for Mako, but instead, coming in with the Soraka and absolutely smashing this GRX bot lane. So, you know, these are the questions I really want to ask in the interviews. We've asked about K, a Breeze about that yesterday. They didn't expect UCal was going to go for the funneling comp. So a lot of things like this are happening on 8.13, where if you don't read the draft correctly, your game plan can go awry really fast.
It certainly has. GRX haven't had that much of an early game just yet, but they're not out of the match yet either, Clement. They're still only slightly behind EDG. What do they have to do to find that big 5-on-5 you were talking about earlier, or is that no longer a possibility for them?
I still think they have to go for it. That's pretty much their only win condition if you're running a full bruiser. But it's going to come down to the Dragon setup so far. And if you look at Scout, he's pretty much uncontested in terms of the bot lane. As long as he can keep that wave shoved up, I don't think GRX can actually find that big 5v5 Dragon fight to kickstart their comp.
The first dragon, or first elemental dragon of the game, is a mountain dragon. Neither team has postured towards it just yet. He did say that Scout is pushing in aggressively against Uchi in the bottom lane. Is behind by about 20 CS at the moment, but it's a sizable CS lead for the bottom lane players. iBoy, 123. So Stitcher's 82. 40 CS advantage to the EDG squad.
Also finished his Guinso's Rage Blade, so they are sitting on a massive power spike. They're going to go ahead and just take the Drake.
Yeah, Stitch still yet to pick up his Rod of Ages. That's not going to be stacking for some time, means that his power spike's going to be later into the match as well. They do have a full bruiser composition, so they can try and make use of that. Now picking up the Rod of Ages does have a stopwatch for himself as well, using a teleport to get back into the lane as fast as possible.
And we've seen this with a lot of Swain bot lanes. If you don't get kills in lane with your never move combos, then you do tend to fall pretty far behind, and you're also building into Rod of Ages, which really slows down your team fighting power. What GRX are looking at is really no chance to get those big bruiser fights that they want to.
EDG just keeping them locked down, still making sure that they're split apart across the map. PK 1-on-1 against Ray in the top lane. Now EDG going to try and group up into the mid lane itself. They use Rift Hell to chunk out this turret. They push forward. We'll take the second turret of the match against GRX.
Not a lot of answers from GRX. I do think that Uji on Renekton could actually split push against Scout, but it's going to be very difficult because they would have to nail down Soraka as well, unless she puts the wish on everyone and just changes that matchup. So, you know, this Soraka pick is working on so many levels for EDG. It won the bot lane. It's going to dissuade the split pushing from GRX as well.
So how did GRX deal with it? If that's going to stop not only the split pushing, but has also helped them win the bottom lane, how did they stop that moving forward in the match? How did they take care of Mako Soraka?
I think the easiest way you can do is actually just all in onto the mid lane. Soraka's a very fragile champion. Kai'Sa's going to have a bit of trouble getting away from that as well. But they're setting up a pick for the bot lane instead right now.
Yeah, it's not Mako, that's the all-in target for GRX at the moment. Koala blast cones over the wall, gets down into the bottom lane, but GRX do not make any aggressive moves towards Scout underneath the turret. In fact, Bebe heads back to base. Koala's going to do the same thing as well. iBoy still happily farming in the mid lane. Stinger being picked up, looking towards the Nash's Tooth next on Kai'Sa.
Of course, on this patch, the AP Kai'Sa has been weakened quite a little bit. Guinso's Rage Blade not stacking up as hard. In total, you lose about 10% AP in the late game fully stacked, but of course, she's still a very strong champion for most of the LPL teams that like to play with an ADC.
And we have a few of those teams. I mean, even in Invictus Gaming, trying to move towards AD carries as much as possible for Jackie Love. Uzi's only really been playing AD carries as well, except for that single cannon match, which was on-hit attack damage cannon, so it still makes sense as an AD carry. But it's good to see that GRX are improvising here, because they're going towards the Swain pick. moving away from the hyper carries that they're known for in Spring Split. They just haven't had a great start, which is not great for the LMS region, especially when they're coming in as the second seed to the tournament.
It pretty much means that the LMS has actually lost their second best team. These guys, GRX, were 12-2 in the Spring Split. People expected them to represent at Worlds, but coming into Summer Split with such a drastic change into the meta, it seems like they've completely lost their way. They have been trying a lot of bruiser bot lanes, but it just really hasn't worked out for them so far, and they've also not experimented with gold funneling at all. They're a very stock standard team, very easy to read, and I think that really hurt them in a meta with so many variables in terms of champion pool.
I mean, it hurts teams all around the world whenever the meta changes. If you're not able to adapt fast enough, it hurt your performance in your local leagues, and now we're seeing that happening at Rift Rivals as well. They have been trying to adapt, hasn't looked good for them so far, but again, we've said this quite a few times now, they're not out of the match yet. They still have opportunities to strike against EDG. EDG are known as this well-oiled machine. If they can set up to take down objectives, set up to force a team fight or to force a pick, that's where they're strongest. GRX, if they can catch them by surprise though, could disrupt the machine.
Yeah, Mako with the Spidey senses right there, catching out GRX with the potential pick onto the Soraka. This is something that they do want to focus on, but Mako with the Spidey senses, he always knows what the next move is, and EDG, much like GRX, are known as the cerebral teams of their regions. They're very good at their shot calling, they can always sniff things out.
Looking for a fight against Uji, but Scout doesn't get the stun onto Renekton. The Toy Soldier will walk away from that mid lane. Ray and PK still going at it in the bottom lane. Nothing's going to happen between these two tanks for the moment. They're just going to be as annoying as possible. Trinity Force has been picked up by Scout, so nice item power spikes for EDG, and they're looking to move towards a dive in the top lane. Poor Scout doesn't get in on the ride. The blast cone only takes Haro over the wall.
Unfortunate mistake, but the 4v3 is still going to come in.
Ooh, Stitch taking quite a bit of damage. Good Black Shield coming out from Koala. Make sure that he doesn't get knocked back into the EDG's team.
Koala, known as a big playmaking support in the LMS. He's always been very good on his protection duty, keeping Stitch underneath the tower and not outside of it with the explosive barrel.
And Stitch still falling behind. Only 4 stacks on his Rod of Ages for the moment. 40 CS behind iBoy's Kai'Sa. We're checking with the other items. Uji going towards the Black Cleaver right away after Tiamat. Alright, please get this off the screen. Watch them run at each other, Clement.
No,
and then run away.
Pretty good move by Ray, charging out of the poison gas.
Even Ray wants nothing to do with that. Haro's going to continue farming. Seems like both teams are content with doing that. Just sitting back farming. 3,000 gold separates them. A minute until Baron is up and online.
I have to tell you, I don't think GRX is happy with this at all. I think Bebe has had the right idea. He's been trying to find picks for his team to snowball off of. But every single time EDG has been able to sniff up on it, never letting GRX catch them with their pants down.
To get a faint idea of what's going on, just takes that one opportunity for GRX. So if they can catch EDG out of position, potentially swing the game closer to even or back in their favor. They start by taking down a top lane outer turret. Their first turret of the match. EDG going to try and walk a minion wave closer to the mid lane in the turret. Uji is there. Haro is close by as well to protect the EDG squad, and Bebe is inside his blue side of the jungle. EDG have other ideas, however. They're going to try and take blue buff away from GRX's jungle.
This move from EDG is very calculated. They basically ditch their top lane tower, make a long lane in the top, and try to get some more
but they've caught out Mako. Wow. That's the Soraka support. Uses the wish, flashed away, but the tether comes through. Bebe jumps in with the low sweep, gets out of PK, locking down Haro, throws in Bebe as well. They found the Clement. GRX surprise EDG and get 2 picks.
Yeah, and Bebe coming out of the brush with the control ward, something that EDG did not expect. They thought they had the better macro play, sacking their top lane, moving everything in the bot lane first, but still getting the catch.
Ray over the wall, able to eject 2 members, but they don't continue up with the fight. You're saying GRX able to get the catch there, Clement.
Yeah, that was a really smart move from Bebe. We saw him standing on a control ward on the left side of the dragon bush there and catching out Soraka as the first person to take down. That's usually quite important in team fights because if you don't take her down, it means that iBoy has a lot more room to execute.
And it's exactly what you said earlier. Look to go for an all-in against Mako Soraka in the mid lane. It took them a few tries to set it up, but they found it.
Yeah, look at that pathing from Koala. Excuse me. they did come from the mid lane, which was not warded on EDG's side. EDG thought they had more members here first, but that was not the case.
Even PK identifying he can lock down Haro. Still rather squishy on this Gragas pick. As it's Zeke's Harbinger now to try and buff up iBoy, it seems.
You can see EDG right now, they're pinging out the position where Koala found his pick, coming through the unwarded mid lane to surprise him around the Cloud Drake. That was just a tinny mistake, a tinny part of the map, which was not warded for EDG, but GRX able to find that opening.
They were persistent. They tried to set up for these picks. They tried topside, they tried it in the bottom lane, and didn't fall too far behind when it didn't go their way. I mean, they lost a pick inside of their blue side of the jungle when they went to attempt for it, and EDG had a good move to pick another one up and get a few turrets and Rift Herald. But they finally find the pick they were looking for. They pick up a turret off the back of it. They're now only 1,500 gold behind, and are definitely within shot range of trying to go for that big 5-on-5 teamfight or trying to set up for it. If they can catch out Mako, who has no flash available now, that could be a fight going GRX's way.
Yep, GRX definitely wants to get the drop onto EDG. In a straight-up 5v5, I think they have a far worse composition. It's going to be very difficult for their pieces to walk through the Equinox from the Soraka and also the Vanguard's Edge as well. Explosive Barrel is going to knock away all of these melee champions. So GRX, if they want to win, it's going to have to come through those picks and surprising EDG.
Well, Koala is the playmaking support. He was the member that found the pick onto Mako in the last fight. We've already seen how quick he is with the black shields as well to protect the rest of GRX from the crowd control that EDG are throwing their way.
It was really a bit unfortunate. I actually really liked what EDG's play was. It was going to sack the top lane, make sure that GRX's bottom lane actually moved to the Dragon Pit a bit later, and they had full control of the blue side, they had control of the mid lane, but they missed the flat-out mid part of the they missed the open part of the map right there, and Koala was just able to waltz through.
I mean, it's not a very tanky lineup from EDG either. Yes, they've got a Poppy, but the supports are Soraka. They've got a Bruiser in the mid lane, and Haro's gone for Runic Echoes, followed by Zeke's Harbinger. So not very tanky at the moment on his Gragas pick. We saw GRX capitalize on that, but it's going to be EDG to look for a fight. Koala able to get the black shield onto himself, throws out the ultimate, trying to separate Uji from the rest of his squad. Renix is in the middle of this fight, taking too much damage. Haro gets that first kill, and GRX will try and disengage. Oh, will they? Because Ibo's going to jump into the backlines all by himself. 1-on-2 against Bebe, gets the kill, forces PK out as well.
Still keeping close attention to his plasma stacks right there, able to find the follow-up pickup. GRX, I think they went in very haphazardly, and there might be more going down. Black Shield does evade that.
2 picks going EDG's way. They forced the fight. Stopwatch used to disengage as soon as Koala, once again, quick with the Black Shield to protect himself. The rest of the team not on the same page with disengaging. Now trying to fight 3-on-5 against EDG on Baron. No smite available for GRX. Wish comes out from Mako, trying to keep the team alive. Haro very low, but he smites Baron. Picks it up. Swain jumps in the back lines, but falls to iBoy. Koala being locked down by Scout. Ray jumps forward. 1 kill to Irelia. Another stunner to PK. And all that PK can do now is run away. EDG, 2 more picks, and they get the Baron buff.
So 4 kills in total. Absolute disaster for GRX right there. Uji actually tried to go back in onto that fight, but PK was nowhere to be found. He was really far away on split push duty, and we're seeing kind of the difficulty of running a 4-1 composition. All of your members have to be on the same page. Your 4-man needs to know that they cannot take this fight. PK is going to be nowhere near it. And of course, we could see Koala. The Dark Binding did follow, but the ultimate only hit 1 person. Uji should not have been trying to go in at that point. Does tag it with the W, Killer Instinct straight into a 1v2.
You see right there as well, immediately, you just think, well, we got the pick, let's go away. Iboy says, no, I'm going for more. Dashes in for the 1-on-2. That was followed up with EDG taking Baron buff away from GRX. GRX tried to fight 3-on-5. But EDG punished them for it. Now 5,000 gold ahead with 2.5 minutes of Baron buff to work with.
Yep, and they've also got the Mnemonic Ascension away from Stitch, so GRX should not be looking for anything. We can see Kaisa there with the Mid-Eye Soul Stealer already. iBoy playing very cockily here.
Wait, he doesn't
getting
have
extra AP.
What? He doesn't have any stacks.
Doesn't matter, he's feeling it.
That's a bit. Nah, that's a bit BM coming out from iBoy there. Bebe's looking for a deep flank, though, spotted by a control ward. No stacks yet. He's feeling himself. Yes, if he can pick up some stacks, it'd be great, but the game would be over after 1 or 2 more team fights for EDG. GRX need to try and stabilize the match. Poppy throws out the hammers, able to eject Swain away from the fight. Bebe still waiting for a flank, but EDG break the base. Moving towards the inhibitor as well. They take that down.
This is just great timing play from EDG. When they did that entire push, there was no ultimate on Stitch's side. No chance for GRX to actually find a pick-off and an engage right there.
But they've been looking. Bebe's been looking for the flanks. We're going to see if he can try and punish EDG somehow. If he can lock down Soraka again, take away the healing support. Force a fight that way could be beneficial for them, but they are down behind 8,000 gold.
Yeah, and the flank from PK I don't think is going to work anytime soon. It's a very slow type of CC coming out from him, and I think EDG could actually just rush forward if PK did try to flank. So we see PK now going in from the front.
PK getting 4 members of EDG slowed down by the poison, but Irelia throws out the ultimate, trying to lock down Stitch as well. Demonic Ascension has been used. Immediately EDG will disengage. Flash burned by Singe. Stitch and PK below half health. So is Koala. And EDG still very healthy to start this fight.
That 2-second disarm coming out from Vanguard's edge is just the kryptonite of GRX composition. None of them can really follow up after that goes down. And that's why I think iBoy is going for the Magi Soul Stealer. He knows he has too much protection.
Oh, but he's in a lot of trouble. Locked down. They kill Bebe straight away. The rest of GRX in trouble. Stopwatch comes out from Uji, but it just delays the inevitable. That's a double kill. Picked up by Scout. 2 members left. Dives into the backlines looking for a stun. Not going to get it, but they get a kill. Even iBoy joining on in. Mako stealing it away from the team. EDG took it slow and steady. Ultimately, that's what won the race for them. They're going to be able to take down GRX in game number 1 of day 2 of Rift Rivals.
And that was only a 28 minutes game. Fairly fast for EDG on the clock right there. It never looked like GRX actually found their own footing inside of the game. I think it does come back to the ban pick. Them not expecting where that Gragas was going to go. Haru has not played the Gragas this season so far. It has been Mako picking up that champion with the Kaisa into the bot lane. So them picking up the Morgana, showing their hand early, probably did cost them a lot.
Spanner in the works of Champion Select for EDG as they finish the group stages of Rift Rivals 2-0, picking up all the points for the LPL squad. GRX, that was their first match here at Rift Rivals. They still have 1 more to play later on in the day against the FLICKR Freaks.
EDG showing a lot of respect for their opponent, banning out everything that PK is known for. The Aatrox, the Jax, we're not going to let you touch those champions. You want to go up against Ray? I actually think Ray outplayed PK in terms of the top lane.
I mean, he had a decent laning phase, worked well with Bebe to try for that early pick, and he found Haru after Koala caught out Mako on the Soraka. GRX had that opportunity to try and strike back. They were looking for the picks, especially if they could find it onto Mako's Soraka, which they did, could pull them back into the match. But 1 pick wasn't enough. They couldn't find the second, and EDG found the team fight that just went horribly wrong for GRX.
And better shot calling coming out from the LPL squad right here. The fight in the mid lane really decided it all. GRX caught unaware. They didn't know if they wanted to go in or go backwards, and EDG just capitalizing on it so hard. 4 kills and the Baron play after that. Even the Magi Soul Stealer onto iBoy, he knew that he could not be touched.
I mean, the dip at 20 minutes just shows where that pick came out from GRX. 1 or 2 more, Goldgraph could have swung in the complete opposite favor, but EDG set up for their play, executed on the play, and that's what we know them for in the LPL. If they can set up to take the objectives, if they can set up for a team fight, they are almost unstoppable.
And this is some of the best drafting from EDG that we've seen in a long time. You know, this patch is not only about having good champion combinations, but it's about being able to flex them into different positions right here. Throwing GRX for a loop with that Gragas pick, and it just demolished that entire bot lane. If you're a Swain going ROA, no kills early game, it's just so hard to get going mid game.
GRX tried some different things as well. They throwed Renekton into the mid lane. We saw there only 2.6k damage, but you have to remember, he almost solo killed Scout at about 2-3 minutes of the match. But on top of that, he wasn't able to do too much later into the game.
Yeah, that's a big point of how Scout played the lane. He actually had the wave pushed very close to himself. A lot of times they do blind pick Aurelia and go into bad matchups, but he's always able to come out alive just because of the wave control. And Camille never found the pick he needed.
But that means EDG pick up 2-0, all the points during the group stages of Rift Rivals. GRX still have 1 more game to play later on today. For now, though, let's send it back to the analyst desk.
Thank you so much, gentlemen. And now we get to take a look. Look, we predicted it before getting into the game. The triple LPL caster desk with the triple LPL prediction. I think it went about as expected. We didn't quite get to see the cheese, but Frost, you're tapping the desk. You got something to say?
Because I'm frankly disappointed. I wanted some hardcore carry from PK up into the top lane. I'm not really a big fan of Singe. I'm an ADC main. That champion gives me all sort of headaches. And I understand that from a draft perspective, if you see that you're looking down the barrel of Edward Gaming, they're probably going to play an ADC. That's all that the LPL's been playing at this tournament. Personally, disagree with a little bit, worked out here. So by grabbing Singe, you at least have this counter pick to this idea that I'm just going to blitz into your backline, grab that Kai'Sa and toss her over my shoulder.
Yep.
But still, that doesn't give me what I want. I want like an Aatrox. I want a Yasuo. I want some sort of hard carry champion that just lets this guy go nuts in the top lane.
And here's the thing. Ultimately, if you have a Singed, that's fine. For me, at the very least, I look at that and it's like, leave that alone. He'll do quite fine into the
But they
Poppy.
didn't leave it alone.
They didn't leave it alone. They went topside to make Ray's life a little harder, but at the end of it, he was only behind about 15 CS. Then a lot of the pressure was in the bottom side of the map. If I'm Camille, you go mid lane towards your Renekton. You go bottom lane towards a double pick bottom lane. It feels like a lot of the times it was a missed opportunity, missed pathing from the side of Bebe.
Yeah, I have to really criticize Bebe's pathing there. He spent so long around the blue buff, engaging so many times with that top lane, and exactly what you're saying. This is a Swain Morgana bot lane. You see that it's a Soraka. Soraka's picked. Even before you see the Kai'Sa, you know that there's going to be push and that they're going to be forward into the lane. It's usually why you have the Soraka grab that early. And I understand what Clement's talking about. You know, maybe GRX showed their hand a little bit early, but I mean, you saw the Swain, you saw the Morgana, you knew what it was going to be. One of those CCs connects, it's going to die instantly. But Camille was never down there to capitalize on it until already when Swain had messed up, positioned too far forward, burned his flash, didn't have anything in the lane. And at that point, it's like, what am I supposed to do? I can't go mid, I can't go bottom.
Yeah.
I guess I'm going to go top and feed gold onto a Singe. And what is he going to do with it?
Yeah, and it was that mistake, that losing the flash down in that bottom lane that gave up the first blood, which kick-started the EDG engine into gear. iBoy pushing up, and of course we got to see the Kai'Sa Gragas, which seems to be like the discount Trundle nowadays.
Yeah, and here's the thing. Level 6 was the biggest point. Level 6 on Gragas made it very easy for iBoy to, of course, come in. It was already a bursted Morgana, so ward up on the bush, easy for iBoy. Major question is, once again, where is the Camille on that massive wave pulling in? And a lot of the times when you see a Camille being picked, you expect a hookshot flash coming into the mid lane with a setup, or bottom lane, either for a counter gank opportunity or for that gank to come through. That's why a lot of the heavy criticism for the early game, because the onus was on that for Bebe. But as I mentioned, he put a lot of time in the top side of the map, and there was no, I would say, return on his investment.
And this is also one of the cracks about why GRX have slipped so far backwards. Because again, this is a very different team that we saw from spring in the LMS to summer. And part of the issue is they're not able to hide kind of their weaker pieces behind Stitch in the ADC position, or more importantly, behind PK in the top lane position. Now they need Bebe to step up to be kind of a carry-oriented jungler in a very versatile meta. And his pathing was out, his synergy with his team was a little bit wonky, and I think, frankly, he's the one that you want to consistently expose if you want to tear GRX apart.
And though it was a unfortunate early game for Bebe, he was finally able to follow up on the pick that we saw Koala make in that mid-game team fight. That said, though we got to see GRX win a team fight, it looks completely different than compared to when EDG win a team fight.
But yes, but this is what the composition was supposed to do. You have so much pick potential because you have things like a Camille, like a Morgana, and then with the Singe. Singe can just run into a backline. Yeah, you'd want to grab Kai'Sa. He finds the Gragas instead. But as you're saying, they find this big team fight, but it doesn't turn into anything. Ray disengages them from the tower, and then back-to-back Edward Gaming strike.
And amazing, as you said, they get the pick. Already they had the control towards the Baron side. They're moving in that direction regardless, so they've turned into a Baron immediately afterwards. You can say there's a timing difference, but this difference between the first one is you immediately base if you're on the side of GRX. They didn't get anything in the mid lane. This time around, the EDG were already working towards an objective. They net it, and of course, MVP goes towards iBoy because the setup was there, and he was able to be in the right place at the right time and nets the kills.
40 CS over his opponent at 10 minutes, and he just grew larger and larger. But that said, it's super easy to win that lane when you've got a Soraka behind you auto-pushing. The Swain has burned the flash because he decided to face check without his support, and you're basically 2v nothing in the bottom lane.
So then this is a conversation that we need to have about EDG once again, because we predicted EDG would play the style. They always play the AD carry-centric style if Scout isn't carrying in the lane. We saw it coming. This is what we saw now in 2 games.
but it's how they set it up that was different. So this is actually a complaint that I have about the LPL teams. I don't think that the LPL has the best read on the meta right now. I prefer this bruiser, flexible...
Hard if your patches behind.
I know, right? This flexible, versatile style. Because with the AD carry priorities in the draft phase, you give your hand away early. But what Edward Gaming did to compensate for that is with the Gragas flex pick. Yes, they still went for the ADC because they showed the Soraka, but it was 2 ADC bans. They picked Ashe Ezreal. I don't know why they didn't think it was going to be the Kai'Sa. The LPL is all about the Kai'Sa, and she got a free lane phase. But it was done a little bit differently rather than prioritizing the ADC further on or earlier on in the draft phase.
And that's the thing, if you're going up against an EDG or RNG later on in the tournament, remember, it's mastery of the style versus being a jack of all trades. They decide that we're going to stick to the style and we're perfecting it. EDG plays towards bottom lane for years now, and teams have tried to just for a long time. And the way you'd be able to take it away is by challenging them in the bot side of the map, challenging them in the river so you can actually gain control of the river, get control wards, and a lot of teams lose control of that access. Bebe decided not to contest it. They lost it. They lost their bottom lane, lost the game.
That's actually the best way. If you want to beat an LPL team, and this is just shortcut notes for everyone, do exactly what TL did to RNG. They decided to throw down the gauntlet. They weren't going to give them a passive lane phase. Double lift locked in the likes of Caitlyn, and you take it to them. You do not beat these LPL teams by trying to snowball on a top laner or through a jungle matchup. They win through the bottom lane, and you can beat their bottom lanes. So why not step 2 and show up?
And that's the thing. I liked, and this is why it makes me kind of sad seeing the Swain, Morgana. Those are good picks into those
the
LPL
Camille's
matchups.
down there.
Yes, so a lot of big opportunities. You have to make it worthwhile. You know that iBoy is going to be a major focus. You know that Uzi is going to be a major focus later on today. You have to be able to lock these picks in and play towards it, please.
And while we just celebrated EDG's success here on the desk, we're also giving away all of the LPL secrets as to how to beat the LPL teams. Hopefully the rest of the teams are keeping track and taking notice of all of that that's going on.